Hi, hello, good day, everyone. How are you? How are you, Mielmi, Susana? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hi,
Great to be
Javi.
here.
Good afternoon. It's
Eh,
a
This
pleasure
this
to
is
be here
our
in our in the edition.
yes, it's our first edition of our English edition of the Disruptive Talks, and it feels very good to be uh, doing this programs for English speaking people. I think we have a lot to tell them. And today we have a very nice, a very interesting topic that has been in our minds at least for um, the last years of our lives that have been dedicated to leadership. And it's the importance of leading from within. What does leading from within mean? When I say that, I always think that the first person you need to lead is yourself. And if you don't lead yourself, you cannot lead anyone. To lead yourself, you have to be the first to be nurtured, to be taken care of yourself. You are the most important part of you. You are the most important part of your life. And if you're not good, anyone around you can be good because of you, or you can't help others be good. You can't give what you don't have. So to be a leader, you first have to be a leader for yourself. And I guess that sometimes we feel like it's uh, being taking care about us is like the last thing we do, because we think that true leadership is about giving to others. But as I said, yes, it's about giving to others, but first you have to give to yourself in order to have something to give to others. So this is a very good topic. I would like to start with uh, that true leadership begins with silence, with taking a pause to think what we want to do with ourselves, who we want to be. And you can't lead others if you haven't learned to stay present with yourself. I'm sure about that. If you don't like to be with yourself alone, with your thoughts, with your emotions, with your dreams, it will be very difficult for others to like to be around you. So, first of all, we have to like ourselves, take care of us, and nurture ourselves, train ourselves in order to be good leaders. That's what I think at the beginning.
Yeah,
Right.
I couldn't agree more, Javi, on what you're saying. And actually, I'm glad that we're talking about this topic. I think this is a topic that often gets overlooked in the rush of the day, on the day-to-day leadership. So many people talk about being a good leader, but they very often forget about how important it is to be a leader that is already connected from within, like inside of them. And especially many people is dealing with that inner voice sometimes, and is struggling with so many things that they don't let them work on themselves, invest in themselves, because sometimes they don't think they deserve that, or they don't see it as an investment, as a valuable investment, when they should. So before we can lead teams, drive strategy, or influence cultures, we have to lead ourselves. It doesn't start with KPIs or performance metrics. It's to start with presence, like you said. It start with clarity, with alignment. Um, so one of the things I like that you mentioned the other day, when we were talking about this topic, is the kind of like, many people is burning out because of misalignment. There is a lot of things going
Yes.
through that way, and I think self leadership is the foundation of all effective leadership in that way. It's about, like you mentioned, being intentional with our energy, with our values, clear on your inner compass. Even in the understanding how much you invest in yourself. eh, Sometimes the other day I was talking with someone, who what she was telling me, like, I don't know, I don't want to pay for this training because I can get a lot of things for free out there. And I was wondering, like, that's true. I mean, you can get a lot of free things out there, but you can also find many spaces out there, maybe to live, or but what are the conditions that you're gonna, live within those specific places? So you always try to invest a lot of money, or the best of what you can, investing in bringing you comfort, bringing you, peace of mind. But sometimes we miss that part of investing in yourself, in your development, in your, not only from the hard skill perspectives, but also investing on how can you, enhance your capabilities, like your emotional intelligence, your effective communication skills. So, and there are so many other things that you can, invest in yourself to make you a better leader. So, yeah, I'm happy to be here talking about this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's such an exciting topic, and I'm so glad that we're talking about it because it's been kind of the core of my work, and I would even
Yes.
say of my life, as you know, my personal life for so many years. Of course, everything I shared, everything you said. If I can just add a dimension that for me, when we speak about leadership, and very interesting, Yelmi, you say people, it's like there are so many things that I can get for free out there, and the gap for me is that you can receive like tons of stuff and read books and be in courses and yet not make anything out of it. Because for me, when we say that leadership starts within, is that I need to understand myself before I can even start integrating on the learnings, all the readings, all the inspiration from other people. So it's for me, it's just like a state of mind. It's like understanding. You were saying, Javi, uh, stay with your dreams and like envision the future. But it's also about understanding where do we come from. For me, it's been one of the most important parts of my own personal journey as a leader of myself. So not leading
Yes.
necessarily people, but for myself, is understanding how my life experiences have shaped me. How how do I look out to life, to events, to people? How do I relate to others? What's important to me? You were talking about values and about presence, about intentions. So it's finding that space within to say, yeah, I understand why this is important to me. So one of the things that make this topic so powerful to me is that when you get to work with someone that gets that spark in the eye saying, I understand. I know what I can bring to other people. And I know, where my value is, what are my skills, what are the things that I can contribute with in the world. And in the world is global. It's not only organizations, because for me it's the line between leadership in life or at work, it's very thin. I have found great leaders outside of organizations, and I've found very bad leaders inside organizations. So when we address the person, so what we have within, then we can talk about leadership. I was sharing with Javi before. We were talking about English uh, before we
As a
went
language.
as a language, and how he got. I'm Spanish. You're Mexican,
I'm
Miguelmi.
Mexican.
Yes, and I don't even know where you're from. Where are you from, Yelmi?
Venezuela.
Venezuela. So, and we're here talking English to you. So I think we all have a different story related to that. And mine is related to what I call leadership. And it's just because my dad was a visionary man. And he decided
Yes.
when I was a very young girl that I had to speak English in a country where we were under a dictatorship and nobody would speak English, because that was kind of, we were a very closed country in Spain in the 70s. For me, that's a
Yes.
leadership story. And it shaped me so much that today, if I am here with you, giving this talk in English and talking to you all in English, is thanks to my dad's leadership and visionary skills. That kind of, and probably he didn't know that he was being a good leader for me at that point. Of course, he didn't. He was not conscious of.
Most leaders don't know.
Yeah.
Most good leaders don't even notice.
So yeah, that's leadership from within for me. It's
Yes.
about, of course, dreaming and vision and inspiration and being with yourself and taking care of yourself.
Of
Of
yourself.
course, that's the start. But it's also about understanding how our life experiences have shaped us and how can we use them to contribute to the world in a good way, being good people. Being good people will entail being good leaders. That's a deep conviction that I have. Yeah.
I totally
And
agree.
that's really, really
I just
important when
said,
you mentioned that.
oh,
No,
go
no, go
ahead,
ahead, go
Miguel.
ahead.
No, go, go, go.
No, I was saying like this, that she mentioned really, really important point in terms of the, like taking responsibility for our energy and understanding uh, how everything started with us. Because in a world that is obsessed with external validation,
Yes.
titles, performance, productivity. So there's so many KPIs going on. This morning I was reading a post on LinkedIn from someone who has a song with HDHD, and he was frustrated because he was mentioned like after a school meeting about his son, he was feeling like why they're too focused on hard skills or his grades, or nothing about the conversation during that meeting was about my son emotional safety or emotional intelligence. So it was not related to that. There was nothing that they were concerned about that. They were focused only on numbers or something, and he was reflecting like what's going on with an organization that we're focusing only in hard skills and numbers, and we're forgetting that other part about soft skills development. And I was actually sending him a message to say I'm going through a similar process, my son too. um, but and that's the challenge, we how we can expect it someone to teach the kids or go or work with the kids in their emotional intelligence when teachers doesn't have those resources. They don't have those resources available, so sometimes it's hard for them. They cannot learn how to deal with their emotion or the things like or develop soft skills because their leaders, which are supposed the teachers or people within the schools, they don't have that. They don't know how to use it. They don't know how to lead them. So I think as leaders, we have that responsibility in investing in ourselves. In it's called self leadership. Is the practice of leading yourself with the same clarity, intention, or integrity that you're expecting from others. It's taking responsibility of your energy, your mindset, your growth, your impact before expecting others to follow. So it's really, really important that we invest the time, the money, and that's why I like the title of this life is it's a non-negotiable. So investing in
Mm.
yourself because you can lead others if you haven't learned to be present with yourself. It's about recognizing when a burnout isn't it's not a failure. It's like I mentioned at the beginning, it's a misalignment that you said, Javi, the other day. And so many high achievers I know they feel stuck or exhausted, not because they're not
Yes.
capable. It's because they are chasing someone else's version of success. And that's the thing. They don't take the time, they don't invest. And I like that you mentioned Susan, Susanna, like we we are focusing um, on understanding or getting the things for free and sometimes you're not seeing the results because it's just okay, it's there's information, and of course there's a lot of information. We are in the era of information. We have access to so many, like YouTube videos, ChatGPT. Ask to ChatGPT whatever you want. Okay, perfect. But the experiences that you can get from investment and going through processes or experiences that can lead you to really grow with development from inside is another story. So I think that that's when we
Yeah,
can, that's the first step, I guess.
yeah. I couldn't agree more. Not everything. What is free doesn't have everything. We know that what we give for free is not the whole thing. You have to experience it, to live it. And information, as you said, reading, of course, is good. Of course, it's good to prepare ourselves. But let me talk about something. You have some families that have kids. What's their first focus is on having a good school for their kids, for instance. Why don't we do that for ourselves when we become older? Because we already went to school and that's it. I don't think that that's it about learning. I think that we should keep on learning for the whole life. And so if you are like thinking on searching or looking for the best school for your kids, and you're forgetting about your own education and your own training, I guess that there is a little mis misunderstanding between objectives, because your kids are advancing but you're staying at the same level.
Mm.
So at the end you don't evolve the same way they evolve, and then sometimes it becomes a problem between generations, because the father is just thinking the same way he always did, and he doesn't want to change because he thinks that what he knows is everything that he or she should know, and that leads to not leading from within. You lead from outside, what you have learned, what your experiences were, but you are not thinking about what I have to learn right now to be better, to keep on being more educated. Um, you talked about skills, and skills are important. Of course you need to know your skills, but sometimes people don't even know their skills. They don't know how to use it. Of course, if they don't know what their skills are, they of course don't know how to use them. So first of all, we need to know what our skills and our talents. That's self knowledge, if that's the term. I'm not sure, but you have to learn a lot about yourself.
Self
What
awareness.
self awareness, what you're good for, what you're not good for, also, in order not to try to fix it, in order to forget about it, and focus on your talents, because nobody is gonna get perfect in something it's not meant to be. Pear trees are not gonna give apples ever. So that's very important to know what our talents and our skills are. I also liked what you said, leading from within. Let's say our audience, what is within, what is inside, and what is outside. Some people don't even know what is inside and what is outside. What is outside? What is outside is your boss, your work, your family, your car, your debt, your money, your everything you have outside in the world. What's inside is it's what it's important in order to lead in a better way. Is your thoughts, your emotions, your feelings, your decisions. All of this happens inside, and sometimes we don't even notice that that process is being taking action. We don't take we don't have this attention to our most important thoughts, to our most important decisions. Sometimes we leave the autopilot to take these decisions. Sometimes we feel some emotion, and we let it overtake the system, and we don't even notice. So that's not leading ourselves from within. When we start taking care uh, of looking at our thoughts, what we're thinking, what we're feeling, and then I don't know how to say congruencia, but with uh,
Congruency.
Congruent, yeah.
congruency between your feelings and your thoughts, then you can make a better decision. When you make a decision with your emotions aligned with your thoughts, and then you make this decision, and then the only thing that happens outside, and not the 100% of the times, is the action. The action happens outside, and
Mm,
that's what we focus on. But also sometimes we decide not to take action, and if we decide to not to take action, the action happens inside also. So taking action or not taking action is a decision, and it's taking action at the end of it. But I think that the true meaning of leading ourselves is noticing that this process of thinking, feeling, and deciding what to do is happening before we take action. And many people go go directly to the action, and when
mm,
they go to directly to the action, they are letting the autopilot to take that decision, and you expect that the results be different, that your results should be different, because just because you want it, but
mm.
the actions are not in congruence with what you're thinking and what you're feeling. So that's what it's for me. That's what is most important for leadership, because if you're not in alignment, how can you align a team? How can you align a family? How can you align a family or a society? So that's my point of view.
Yeah. So one additional thought that came up listening to you, Javi. I think that there's a kind of I don't want to call it a precondition because it sounds too rational for what we're trying to share here.
Yes.
But it's kind of a state or even maybe a quality, which I think is a human quality that can only help us do better what we are trying to share here, which is an eternal and permanent
It's eternal. Yes.
state of curiosity. We cannot
Yes.
go through that process of, stopping and thinking, what was the thought that originated this decision that I make and what were the consequences? If we're not curious, just curious, if we don't ask enough
Who we
questions
are.
to ourselves to start
Yes.
with, right? If we don't take that time of say, okay, hang on a minute, of course that autopilot is helpful. If we didn't have an autopilot, we would not be able to
We
operate
would die.
because we take so many thousands of micro decisions every day that
But
autopilot
we use
is
it.
not
But we
needed.
use it for important
But we
decisions
use it for
also.
everything. So,
Yes.
having that capacity of say, hang on a second, what happened here? You know,
Yes.
why did I do that?
Yes.
The second after I realized that this was not what I wanted to say, or this was not what I wanted to do. So only having that
That's the
quality
first
of
step.
being curious is a state of mind, and looking
Yes.
outside also. So curiosity towards what do I have within me, right? Why did this experience in life had such an impact on me? And this other experience I didn't even remember until I lived something that recalled me, and yet it was so important to me. So having that curiosity of challenging our assumptions, the things that we believe, because and Miyalmi said it before, we operate on permanent assumptions and signals from the outside. That's the benchmark. We have to be in this whatever social media. We have to do this to exist, right? Which is of course true, and at the same time, if we lose the curiosity of asking why am I here? Why am I reacting like this? Why is this thing that you're saying hurting me? Where does that come from?
Yes.
Instead of saying you're a bad person and you're hurting me. So having that capacity of challenging just even the autopilot that is coming out, I think is an essential quality to be able to lead from within. It's about asking questions. The world is full of answers and information, as we just said. And yes, of course, it's free. But if we don't challenge that information, and we see it with social media, right? And we see it with the full generation that take absolutely
Hmm.
everything that they see in social media for granted, with no curiosity of where does it come from? Is it true? It becomes true because people say that it's true in social media. And we get to this, what I consider to be
Misinformation.
manipulative. Yes, and it's manipulation of people that have not, for some reason, stopped and say, okay, hang on a second. Is this true? Do I agree with it? Does it make sense to me? What do I think about it? Right? Where does it come from? And just
Why
try
do
to
I
go
want
to
to
the
believe
source.
that?
Absolutely. So for me, the big word with the big C and big capital is be curious. Be curious about yourself, first of all. And then if we train that muscle of curiosity, we will be curious also about what's happening around us. And then, diversity becomes an asset, because if we're curious about the other person, even if he's different. And I was really touched with the example that you gave me, Yelmi. Just let's be curious about what's the contribution that different people can have in an environment, in a context. Just ask the question, what is your value? And it's not about skills, and it's not about the doing what they do. It's also these people, different people, they have emotions, and they have a state of mind, and they think things, and they bring, of course, something to the world. So let's be curious about that. I think that's my preferred word in any language that
Being
I know.
curious.
It's curiosity, in the
Curiosity.
best sense that we can use it. It's not being nosy; it's being like questioning things. Yeah.
Of course. I think that what we should also um, redefine, it's what we think about being smart, or being uh, yes, being smart. That's the word. We think that being smart is having this intellect full of information, full of knowledge, full of books we've read, full of languages we speak, and of course that's good. Of course, having a good intellect and exercising intellect is important. But nowadays, I think that, and Miguelmi said it before at the beginning of the show, that what about the soft skills that are not taught in schools, at least not in our times when we were kids. Maybe today they are paying more attention to this, but not for us. And then I started seeing that they are not soft skills, they are deep skills. That's why they are inside. What is the intellect? What we see as intelligence, what we see as being smart, it's about what we get from the outside. What is a deep skill or a soft skill is what comes from the inside. How I feel, how I think, what seeds I put in my mind in order to make things happen. How do I talk to myself? How do I speak to myself defines how I speak to others, and that defines also how I lead others and how I lead teams. So this is not something that is going to come from, well, as my mother said, when I was not studying enough, she said, "You're not gonna learn by osmosis, because you need to read. You need to read, then understand, then make a reflection on it, because not everything that is taught in schools is true, or maybe
It's
is, or
applicable.
maybe,
Yeah.
the way you are looking at it, or you are
Yeah, it's not aligned with your values or your
the point. It's not
personality, your
about,
interests,
yes.
or your goals.
And you
Yeah.
can say, I don't believe in this. I said, and in one of my last articles, I said that since I was a kid, I was very challenger, if I may say. I challenge everything. I never believed in everything as a dogma. When somebody came to me and said, "You have to believe in this because it is what it is," and it didn't bring me any. any calm, any kind of serenity. In the opposite, I didn't know anything, so I didn't want to believe in what I didn't experience
So you're a
first.
curious guy.
So
You're
I am a
very
curious
curious.
guy, and I asked, okay, okay, I guess that if everybody says, of course there is a force that moves us all, but of course the interpretation we give to this energy and the interpretation we give to what really happens inside of us is very different to the things we learn with our intellect.
Hmm.
It is, you need to feel it in order to understand it. How, in order not to be very to put the cables into the ground, uh, how can we say to people that going inside is it's just a matter of letting you, giving you the opportunity to understand who you're talking to every day, who is with you every day, who
Hmm.
you sleep with every day, because we're so busy with our things outside that sometimes we forget about the people that is the person that is moving this body, right? And that's what is making us right now taking bad decisions. When we
Yeah.
only look outside, we take bad decisions, and society is one of the uh, best examples of that right now.
I like
Yeah, exactly.
so we were talking about, so it's hard skills and soft skills. I like speaking about a third kind of skills, which is the way I would name maybe what you were talking about, Xabi, which is human skills. Let's
Human
talk
skill.
about human skills. it's
Yeah.
it's about emotions.
Simpler.
It's simple. It's what makes us human. And when we lead from within, it's because we have reached a state of, call it whatever you want, of level of conscience or understanding of or awareness of these human skills. What makes us different from other animals? I think that's,
The
understanding
intellect.
that, it's already like, uh, putting some kind of yeah, doing leading, from what makes us human. So I really like this idea of human skills, and definitely I think that our educational systems do not teach
Teach
enough
human
human
skills.
skills.
Yeah.
Talking about
And that's
compassion,
that's a
talking
good
about,
example.
yes, yeah,
And
No,
human
yeah,
skills
like I
are
was saying,
not
like
human
that's a good
skills.
example mentioning the
Human
human
skills is
skills.
not walking.
yeah, absolutely. So
Say it, Miami.
No, and I was saying like that's a good example. I like that she brought it up because it's I remember some point when I was working with coaching for parents. I remember I had this training for for the parents, and it was about kid self-esteem. And I remember someone told me like, that's not a good title. You're not gonna sell that because no one wants to talk about self-esteem. You need to say something more powerful that help them to better understand the benefit behind. And I was like,
More
yeah, I
powerful
mean,
than
I understand that from the marketing perspective, but you know, how much are we caring about our kids' self-esteem? But of course, we're coming from, again, like the same example with the teacher, we're coming from parents that they're struggling with their self-esteem. So it's hard for them to understand that. So I think it's a really important point, understanding that investing in yourself intentionally, it's not just about reading a book, which is valuable. Actually, today I recommend a book,
of
right?
course,
Because I'm really into reading a book on a regular basis because for me it's like it's information. Again, it's free information from someone who has experience and teaching you things so you can learn from that. But understanding or like you were
Deeply.
saying, the self-awareness, exactly, the self-awareness, and be aware of what you need, what you want, what you like, what you expect. So who you are, where are you going, what are you uniquely built to do. So
That's
self-awareness
clarity.
for me is the compass. Exactly. And self development is the vehicle. So I have the compass, I have
Yes.
the vehicle. So where am I going? How I'm going to do it, right? So my goals, my dreams, my talents are the destination. So I need to put all the things together. When those pieces are aligned, growth feels energizing, not draining. And that's where most people, get stuck because they're not alignment. We are trying to accomplish, or actually we grew up in an environment, and that's why I'm very pushing the school system, because we grew up in a way like, oh, he's not good in math, so let's put him a tutor in
A
math.
hundred, a
Yeah.
hundred
Right.
exercises of
So
math.
he's not good in math. So what is he good at? So let's focus on that. And as
Yeah.
leaders, we have that responsibility too. Like,
Yes.
we should be focusing on our strengths and maximize that. I'm not saying that there are weaknesses that we just set apart. No, it's part of the self-awareness and understand, okay, I'm not good at this, or I need to work or improve some of my skills on this part. For instance, like, oh, I don't have that. I'm not organizationally, like naturally an organized person. Okay, you can work on those things, but take advantage of the tools, take advantage, taking
Yes.
advantage of the things. It's not like I need to force myself to be better in everything I do. And that's where I feel the system failed, and we are translating those failures um, to companies because leaders are coming to the things like, we need to be the best in everything we do, because otherwise you cannot be a leader. No, forget about it. That's why it's really important to understand different personality types, different perspective, different communication style, different capabilities, strengths, experiences, and we combine them and make a powerful team to grow. So self-awareness is the foundation for sure, because that's the best way you can get what you need to work on. That's the step one. So then ask yourself, like, what are my natural strengths, what give me like energy, the flow, what motivates me, what kind of impact do I want to make, why I want to do
That's
that.
very
So
important.
once you have that, exactly, so once you have that clarity, you can be strategic about that development. You can plan in advance, okay, this is what I'm good at, so let me enhance my capabilities in this part. So I was reflecting like 2 weeks ago and making a plan, and my career, and in transition that I'm facing now. And I was like, you know what are the things, and one of the books actually from John Maxwell, who has mentioned that, like, from the leverage your capabilities is one of the law of communication. um and it's kind of like, okay, what are the areas that I'm really really strong on now? So, and I'm going deeper on those areas. It's not like I
Yes.
need to learn more. No, I'm going
No.
deeper in those areas to become kind of like, or gain expertise in those areas, build credibility in those areas, because that will make me more
And I want to.
exactly, and align with what I want. So it's really important. Like, then you can think about, are you learning the skills that move you closer to your vision? Are you surrounding yourself with people who stress your thinking and reflect their potential back to you? So these are the things that after you have the clarity, you can be strategic about, like, are you investing in your habits to nurture that long-term goals you have, not just your short-term performance. It's also going beyond that. So I think you were not meant to be everything to everyone. You're meant to master your
Very good.
unique brilliance or skills and learn from there.
Yeah. And the funny thing is that when we listening to you, I was thinking this is what companies communicate about, exactly that. How can we be different? What is our the value that we bring into society. How is our product different? How are these people, are the people that we have different? And it's really funny that we can have that speech, and we can have that kind of messages when it comes to corporate. This is the way we want to position our organizations in the
Of
world,
course.
and that we cannot do that to ourselves. It's kind of the
Yes.
same process. I think that if we would
The same
be
process, different
developing,
magnitude.
yeah, a strategic plan for
Yes. For me,
ourselves, where do I come from,
yes.
what is important to me,
How I want to
why
live.
do I do what I do, uh, what are the things that I want to see in my future. What is the future that I see for myself
Yes.
in the organization? How am I going to do it, and what is going to prevent me from doing it? Maybe it's just a self-strategic process, and we do it for
Yes.
organizations, we do it for teams, we do it for products, and it seems so difficult to do it for ourselves,
For
that
our
we get into this,
personal brand.
yeah, it's this machine just doing, as Savi was saying, just on autopilot. And then one day, we realize that this is not the place I wanted to be, this is not the job I wanted to have. uh
But you decided it.
wow, what do I do with this? We speak about this crisis and middle age crisis or whatever, but it's just, for me, it's just a lack of curiosity in life. I'm moving jobs. Why am I moving jobs, or why do I even want to move jobs? What did I liked about my previous job that I don't like anymore? Where's the disalignment, as you were talking now? Where did we, my company or my job and myself, lose track? Because we evolve, we grow up, we change. Of course, life experiences change us. Let's ask the questions at the right time, and not only when it's too late or too bad. When we get burnt out, and we all know that this kind of, the 21st century disease is just being burnt out younger and younger. In
Yes.
coaching, we get people that are maybe in the first 10 years of career, that are completely
Burned
out
out.
already.
Yes.
How can that be? So
Yeah.
how can we
You see people in their
support?
30s, in their
Yes, it's
30s.
like, I'm lost.
Yes.
Wow. Wow.
Yes.
So ask
I
that
listened to
questions.
you, and there were a lot of topics that I wanted to make my closure on. First of all, the age crisis. I think that this
Mhm,
topic about the age crisis, those are the most important moments of your life when you have an age crisis.
mhm,
Your body is saying that it is not feeling comfortable what with what you're doing anymore, that you need to do something else because your age maybe is not it is not what you're doing, not what you should be doing at your age, maybe. No, so when you have a crisis, it's the perfect moment to change something, and maybe something big. A second thing that I listen to you is about being strategic. For to be to give it in an easy way, strategic is doing things for your own growth, or for the growth of the people in your environment. If you're not doing things for your growth or the people that is in your environment or the society, you are not being strategic. And first of all, you need to know what you need, what you want, and what people need and people want from you. So that's being strategic. Third thing, you talked, Miguel, about self-esteem. Um, I think that even the word self-esteem is a little bit uh, uh, little, if I may say, because we should be talking about self love. It's not the same thing to say to my wife, I have a lot of steam for you, than saying, I really love you, or my little kid that is right here starting to call my name. So doing things, it's not self esteem, it's self love. Doing things because I love myself, and starting loving myself is the first step to loving others. And the third thing is that I keep on remarking this. What you learn in books is academic, it's for your intellect, it gets in your memory. But if you don't practice it, and if you don't train it, it will go away. It will disappear. It will be like you never learned it. It will be a good maybe entertainment for a month if you read one book a month. But the real thing is that you should put those things that you're learning in practice. Obviously, as Susanna said, being very curious about asking if this is for me and if this is something I want to believe in, if this goes with my values and everything. So we don't need to forget that knowing everything in for like how do you say it by memory by that's not the intelligence we're looking right now for with the humanity. We don't want more people to learn by force or to learn by memorizing things. We need people that learn from experiences and learn from
Yeah, by doing it.
what works for them.
Mm.
Why don't we focus on what works for us? Why should we focus on what works for everyone? Nothing works for everyone. And finding out what works for you is starting to lead yourself, and it's the beginning of maybe starting to lead others.
Mm. So I'll finish. I'll close just with one sentence that I love, and that reminds me. I use it for myself a lot of times. You know, when I feel the pressure of putting myself up to somebody else's expectations, which we all
Yes,
do at some point. It's like it's
every
Oscar
day.
Wilde. Be yourself because everybody else is already taken. And I think that's self leadership. That's leading from within, is understanding that somehow I am unique, right? And I have
Authentic.
a unique value. And if I use it in an authentic way, that's going to bring value to whatever
Of
I
course.
do, big or small, around me. So be yourself. I
Every
try, I do my best to be myself in everything I do, and that's my way of leading from within. I cannot lead from somebody else's within. I can only lead from mine, right? So
there
that's
is no
that would be
others
my
within.
conclusion for today.
That's true.
Hmm.
Yeah, no,
Awesome.
I think my main takeaway from this conversation is that the greatest return of investment isn't is what you achieve, is actually who you become when you grow aligned
Hmm.
with your purpose. So I think those are
Align with your
my
purpose.
like,
And
yeah.
leaders, please never stop learning. If you really want to lead, and I'm not and I'm not being exaggerated. I'm telling you because it's true. I knew when since I was a little kid, I knew that I was a leader, and that's fine. But if you don't refine it, if you don't learn, and if you don't focus and do it strategically, you will never be a good leader. Maybe you will be a good boss, maybe you will be a good father, but you won't be exceptional. And if you want to be an exceptional leader, you have to work a lot inside of you, within you, and start leading for others from inside. Thank you, Miguelmi. Thank you, Susana. I guess this was a
Thank
very
you
good
both.
Thank
It
you
first
was
guys.
nice.
first
Very nice
episode.
being here with you.
A little nervous for our first time in English, but we'll get used to. And I hope
Absolutely.
we hope to not entertain you because we are not entertainers, but we hope that.
You
But
know,
if we entertain,
inspiration
We
comes
added
from
value. I'm pretty
entertainment.
sure of that.
Yeah.
sure. But
Inspiration comes from entertainment. So,
inspiration,
Yeah,
inspiration, and good information, and putting hands on what you need to do to be strategic and achieve what you want to do. Thank you, and see you
thank
next
you,
weekend.
everyone. Thank you both.
Have a good,
bye
Have a
have a
great
guys.
nice weekend.
evening.
Bye bye.
You
Bye.
too. Bye.